Hey Zaka family! Zaka is launching an exclusive membership platform to provide you with career development workshops, coaching, community, and so much more. Go to ZakaConnect.com and sign up to receive information on how to access early registration and perks.
Hello, everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you can get inspired and motivated from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Jean-Rodney Larrieux, who is a software engineer. Jean, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
The pleasure's all ours, young man. I'm looking forward to hearing about your journey and talking about the companies you have worked for. You work for some big companies. But before we actually dive into those big companies and what you've been doing as a software engineer, could you just highlight a little bit more of your cultural background and where you're from?
Sure. I was born and raised in Haiti. It was a lovely experience. I used to come to the United States every summer vacation, so I knew English since I was a little kid, like 5. So after high school in Haiti, I decided to move here for college, and I've been here ever since in 2000.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you were coming here to the States, was it because of like just you had family already living here, or was it just like just a vacation spot?
So at first, as a kid, it was a vacation spot, but I always had something in mind about technology and things I wanted to do. And I knew that my country, although I love my country, could not offer me what I really was after, what my heart really desired.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how was life growing up in Haiti for you?
It was okay. I mean, my parents, we weren't poor at first, and we weren't rich either. So they provided a decent life for me. Like I said, I was able to travel as a kid. I was able to go to private school. So it was decent.
Mm-hmm. And when you transferred from Haiti to the States, like talk about that transition. Like you said, you came here to go to school. So how was that experience for you?
It was interesting because, again, as you know, Haitian society, schooling is mostly in French and the French system. So going from that to the English system with letter grade and getting taught in English and all of that, it was a different experience. So I learned a lot. It took me a while to find my passion because I don't know if you know, a lot of Caribbean parents want their kid to be doctors. So my mom wanted.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt, doctors and lawyers. You know what I'm saying? That's what a lot of our guests on the show they have definitely highlighted that. So the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree for us Caribbeans.
Yes. So my mom really wanted me to be a doctor. So I enrolled in community college as a pre-med student. But I knew right away that the doctor life wasn't for me. Technology is what I really love, what I'm passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, I had a bunch of chemistry classes. So I'm like, hey, maybe I can be a chemical engineer. And then I'm like, hey, maybe mechanical engineer. So I ended up getting a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. But I've always loved software and coding. So I've always I spent 10 years as a mechanical engineer, and even during that time, I was always automating a lot of the menial tasks. So eventually, I ended up going back to school and getting a master's in computer science.
Mm-hmm. And when you transitioned from Haiti to the States, like what was that big like culture change for you? Like what was the big, obviously you mentioned about the classes being taught in French and then obviously here in English. Like what was like the major shock to you coming here?
I guess a lot of the shock was how free-forming the schooling system here is. Because I come from Haiti, where I used to go to Catholic school with uniforms and everything was on time. And yeah, I know it was a college experience, but I've never felt that school was that free. This is the first time I experienced school being quote unquote as free. So it was a little bit of an adjustment, but I think.
Mm-hmm. And what inspired you to become a software engineer? I know you said that mom wanted you to be in the nursing field, being a doctor. But then, like, what truly inspired? Was someone in your family somewhere in a software engineer? Did you have like a passion for it due to something from your childhood?
So my mom bought me a computer when I was like 17. And on my spare time, I was always on that thing. I mean, I loved it. I guess that's where it really started. And then during my undergraduate career, I took a programming class. And I remember going through traffic, thinking about the programming puzzles and problems from the class. And I was like, wow, I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I learned about it, the more I fell really in love with it.
Mm-hmm. And how during this time period, like how important was your education along this journey? I know that you obtained your bachelor's and master's and like several certifications. Like, what was the importance along the journey with education?
I think education was extremely important to me because a lot of the companies that I ended up working with, they wouldn't have opened the door or even looked at me if that education piece wasn't there.
Okay. That's no matter how good you are, you're saying at that point in time when you were applying for these big corporations and stuff, the education was something that was well needed.
Yes, in my opinion. Again, a lot of them say that you don't need the education, especially in the software field. It can be true to some extent, but I think with the education, you get a lot more sway.
Hmm. And when you got into this field, right? You know, I know a lot of people sometimes people might feel like um, they can't excel in tech. Like, what do you feel about that? Like, what type of advice you could give for like someone who's trying to excel?
So there's something called the imposter syndrome. Uh, Basically, it's you, especially being in tech, no matter who you are, especially if you're a minority, thinking you don't belong or you're not as good as your peers. And trust me, at all levels, even at the highest levels, the smartest people go through this. So
Mhm.
even though you might be going through it, just remember some of your wins, some of your passion, and that could help you navigate through it. Because, like I said, the best of the best go through imposter syndrome.
Hmm. Especially, I'm assuming when you get into like those larger companies.
Yes, and the level of talent, the level of brightness, the brain power at those companies is tremendous. So you will feel like, hey, do I really belong here? But guess what? The answer is you absolutely do.
And especially if you're probably like the only individual that looks like you, probably speaks like you, and has that same type of culture, you start to question, like, hey, look, do I really belong here? Or is there something else for me? Did you ever feel like that along your journey?
A little bit, especially some of the bigger company I work with. But what really helped me is because I was able to reach out to other people that kind of look like me and speak like me, even though they
Mhm.
were not at my same geographical location. Just because they were part of the company and they've been there for years, that gave me a little more certainty that, hey, they can make it. Maybe I can too.
Hmm. And I'm assuming that you use that as like fuel for you. Like, okay, all right, if they did it, they went through several ups and downs, and I could do the same thing as well. That was like something that you kind of used to help motivate you.
Yeah, of course. And again, ever since growing up, I've never doubted myself. I've always been very sure of myself.
Hmm.
I may not be the smartest in the room, but I will compete.
Do you add that? Does that feel like that comes from like that Haitian culture?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Haitian people, especially in my family, we are go-getters. We like to set a plan and work hard at it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
one of the best stories I have for this is that even though I was working as a mechanical engineer, um, working full time, but I was also going at night to graduate school. And it wasn't easy because at the time I had a young daughter, family. So juggling all these things wasn't easy, but I was able to do it.
Hmm. Hmm. Now, when you went to school, now your education, let's talk a little bit about that because you said that was something that helped you get into these corporations. Like after education, like what was like one of the challenging things you faced in like your start off of your career, and how did you like overcome it?
Yeah. After getting my master's in computer science, one of the things I found out is that number one, the interview process is very challenging. The interview process consists of asking you puzzle questions that you have to solve on the spot. No books, no internet, just you and the whiteboard. So that was an adjustment. And also, a lot of companies would interview you, even though they'll tell you that they think you're really smart. You may just not be the right person for this role. So getting into the software industry, at first, it may be very daunting and challenging. You can go through loss after loss after loss of people telling you, hey, you're good, but you may not be for us. And that's hard. Going to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 interviews in a row, and everybody's telling you, maybe not. You have to have the mental fortitude to
Wow.
pursue.
You got to really want it.
Yes.
You got to really want it. And it's the industry that we're in. Just because you have a diploma or you have that degree doesn't mean you're going to get that yes. Especially for that dream job, you're going to have to work your way up that ladder. And sometimes you might have to hear a couple of no's before you hear that first yes.
Yes, and especially in software, it's not a couple. You may have to hear dozens of no's.
And why is that? Why is it a lot more harder in software?
Because software is very broad, and you could be the most brilliant person at company A and be underperforming at company B. So the company may be taking a chance on you because every problem, every domain is different.
True. Yeah, that's a big one right there. Now, how has working in tech challenge? How has it challenged you to be the individual you are today?
So working in tech has been very eye-opening. To really be in tech, I believe that you need certain traits, certain character. I would say you need to be always on your grind, always learning. And if that's not who you are, being successful in tech might not be for you. So it helped that ever since day one, I've always been a go-getter, a learner. I love learning. I know you people can't see this on the podcast, but behind me, there's a big library of books. There's a 3D printer. I love learning. That's who I am. So I guess being part of tech, instead of changing me, it just helped me become more.
Now, as you're going through tech, I know that over the many years, you get to see your colleagues, incline and going up that ladder with you. But let's talk about diversity right now. How has working in tech changed over the years when it comes to diversity?
So there's been a big push with DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's been very challenging as far as they want people that look like us, but they also have a minimum bar. And what they don't want to happen that's not good for anybody is they get a bunch of underrepresented minorities in the door, but they're all underperformers. And it's not good for the company. It's not good for the individual. It's just a very bad situation. So I think not having enough people go into these fields because they don't see enough people looking like them working in the field. It's kind of like a catch-22. There's not enough people at the college level, so they don't have enough applicants, but they don't have enough people at the college level because the people don't see people that look like them at those companies.
Something has to give.
Yes.
In order to make, but I like how you broke that down because that truly does help in regards to the full capacity of where it could go, but where it is. You know what I'm saying? Now you work for some amazing companies, right? And talking about those companies, I got Google on your list of amazing companies, BitGo. When you were working for these companies, I know you learned a lot about yourself, but you really learned about advocating for yourself. Talk to us a little bit more about how did you find ways to advocate for yourself during those times?
So the number one thing all these companies will teach you is that, especially when it comes to your career, nobody's in the driver's seat but you. So nobody can help you get the next promotion if you don't push yourself and if you don't go for it and ask for it. And you, especially at Google, one of the things they do, at least when I was there was a review process every 6 months. And you have to collect all the data from all your peers to list why you think you did great this past 6 months. And it's kind of like you have to become your own lawyer.
Oh, wow. That could be a little nerve-wracking right there. It's not like you walk into the room and someone says, "Well, you've done a phenomenal job." It's you got to present yourself, so you get to learn about how to advocate for yourself at that point in time.
Yes, and it's documented, and you have to have documents with evidence of what you're saying. Not don't just say it, don't just type it, but point to the code, point to other places, point to other people's reviews of you.
Mhm. And this is a big presentation you used to have.
Yeah, again, it's a document that you would send to your manager, and your manager will evaluate and add to it, and it would be a discussion. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, those things help you really learn to advocate for yourself, because if you don't have anything on that document, your manager is not going to add much.
Yeah. And obviously that could make a break, yes or no, coming back, or even like that raise. So like
Yes.
when you're learning how to advocate for yourself, like during those presentations, you must have talked about some moments in your life that, you really were like very excited or very proud about. Like, could you highlight like a moment where you were very proud, something that you achieved during your career?
Sure. There's a few of those moments. And again, one of the ones that always will stay with me is my last mechanical engineering job while I was going for software engineer. I was part of a team that was building a system to test lighting product. I was the only software person on that team. And we had to do a presentation for the CEO. It was a one of a kind type of machine. So not only am I very proud and feel very awesome about being part of the team, but that machine ended up saving the company millions of dollars because it was able to help them capture some of their defects. And
Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
that's like a moment where you're like, not only did you, save millions of dollars for the company, but you also help a lot of people in the
yes,
mix of it.
yes, because again, when back the time I was working for a lighting company, when you ship like $3 million worth of product to California and there's a defect, people gotta go over there, and nobody's happy because these lighting product would go at commercial places like stores and groceries, and it can get very complicated.
Mhm. And now, being of the Haitian culture, and you talk about like you gave us a little bit of background on it and growing up in Haiti, like how did you leverage like that the Haitian culture or even like your immigrant background to benefit you in your career?
That is a very good question. I would say some of the Haitian culture instill in me hard work, dedication, making sure you show up on time and you show up ready. Those things are very important, and that helps you put you above and beyond in your career. So you may have all the intellect in the world, you may have all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not showing up on time, and if you're not professional, and if you're not conducting yourself in a way that people find that they can work with, that would be a problem.
And it might be overlooked in a sense where those like, oh, that's just something small. I got
Yeah,
the highest GPA. I graduated highest of my class. But then, like you said, you're not even showing up on time. You're not sending out those professional emails. So you have to be able to kind of do both things and do them, very well, especially when you're at a high level position, those things would
yes.
be very essential. Now, when you're at those high level positions, right? Like what are some of the great qualities as a team leader, right? Should possess when it comes to like leading a diverse team?
So some of the greatest leaders I've had were phenomenal. Some of the qualities I think make a great leader is not only being able to be impactful, meaning like able to go to war for your team, quote unquote, understanding your team and being able to talk to upper management, be like, hey, what you guys are asking is a little bit too much for my team, defending your team. And, seeing that your leader is defending you from their boss really is inspiring. Seeing that your leader value your input, value what you bring to the table, all these things make a world of difference. Because I've had great bosses and I've had bosses that were not so much.
And those are the ones you're like, oh my gosh, I'm still working for this person. But you made your moves. You got out of there, and you're doing great things.
But
Now, go
you
ahead.
can even learn from these not so
True,
great bosses,
that is
because
true. That is true.
One of the bosses that at first I thought was not so great ended up being one of the most impactful a manager I've ever had. And learning to work with that individual and seeing what makes them tick and how they're able to compete at a high level also helped open my eyes to a lot of things. So even if you're going through a situation, I think understanding there's good and bad in everything and trying to learn as much of the positive as possible is always a good.
That is essential right there. Picking and choosing. Every experience is a good experience. I mean, is a learning experience. And you just, like you said, learning from that manager. Now, when it comes to software engineering, something that, it has come up in previous conversations in our previous shows where people label software engineers as nerds. And they say that software engineers, like, they just don't know how to relate to other divisions of the company because they're so glued into their software engineering. Like, talk to me. You seem like you have an amazing personality. Like, what's going on?
So again, I'm not gonna say that the label is not warranted. Just like everything else in life, there's all types of people with all types of background in software. It just so happened a lot of introvert, a lot of people that keep to themselves and to their heads end up going to software. And yeah, some of them can be labeled quote unquote as nerd, but a lot of time it's because that person is shy and like to stay to themselves. If you really get to know that person and get them to open up, everybody has their quirks. Maybe that person has some quirks that make them look like a nerd, but once you get to know them as a person, you learn that everybody is approachable.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some coworkers that were really, really to themselves. That's how.
And you had to bring it out. You're like, hey, look, I need a little bit more from you at this table, okay? That's got it. But you are right on that. I like how you broke that down and saying that you got to get to know them sometimes. You can't just label everyone as a nerd. And if they do have qualities as a nerd, quote unquote, right? Like what you could learn from them, as you said, how you learn from your previous bosses, managers, and stuff like that. Now, as a software engineer, I know you're constantly in the books. Like you said, you're constantly learning. You have a massive library, which you were just highlighting a few minutes ago. But like, when you're not working, like, what are you doing to improve like your mental health?
So I have my family, my friends. I have a wonderful social life. I love reggae. I mean, I know I'm Haitian. Sorry.
Come on.
Hip hop was never my thing. I'm sorry. Ask all my friends.
You wasn't with the Zouk music?
Nope.
Oh, you like that dance hall, that calypso, that soca.
So growing up, music was never in my radar until I was like 10 years old and Shabba Ranks came on TV.
Yo, Mr. Loverman, Shabba.
As soon as I heard that, I've been addicted ever since.
Oh, yo, Shabba was running the streets heavy. Him and Buju Banton.
Yo.
Yeah. Spraga Benz.
So to this day, I always go out on weekends as much as possible, go to dance hall parties and have a good time.
So you're trying to tell me that the person that they might label as a nerd is also a professional dancer on the low?
I'm not going to toot my own horns, but... if you see me in these streets, you wouldn't know.
We wouldn't know it was you, right? We wouldn't know. Like, that's not the guy. That's not the guy with his head in the books. But that's the beautiful thing about music, and that's the beautiful thing about getting to know somebody, right? Someone might be like, oh, he's a nerd. He stays to himself, but they don't even understand that or know that dance hall music and that reggae music really like relates to you. And hey, maybe they might have a connection. And then maybe you guys go out. Maybe instead of having drinks at the bar, y'all at the dance hall club and y'all just dancing. Like everyone's having a good time because music brings people together.
I agree 100%. And I think whatever you do in life and your professional life, you should always find a way to find a distraction or something, a hobby that grounds you to the rest of the world, because we can all stay here in our careers and be in our little world, but we need to connect to other people, right?
I like how you listen to music to kind of do that for you. That's It's very nice that you know, it's not like, oh, I'll just go for a run. Nah, it's like, no, I like to dance. I like to listen to good music. So I like that.
Thank you.
Hey, that means you're gonna be watching that Bob Marley movie coming out soon. I know that in 2024.
Yes, definitely looking forward to that. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, cool. Now, what are like two lessons that you learned from your parents? I mean, I know we talked about them a little earlier and stuff, but like, what are like two lessons you learned from your parents that you still like implement in your career currently today?
I think being respectful. I learned that from my dad. So always address people in a respectful manner. So, as a matter of fact, back in my mechanical engineering career, I've had discussion with other people on projects where things were not going my way, and the feedback I got is the more mad I get, the more polite I get. So when I start coming out with "sir," we've talked about this already.
Okay. Look how you playing a little funny one of it. I like that. You got some moves up your tricks up your sleeve.
So yeah, I would say that's the number one thing. The number two thing I've learned from my parents is to be a hard worker, because everybody can be smart, but being a hard worker can give you that leg up.
Mm-hmm. I like how you're when you mention about your parents and how they implemented these. I know they've obviously implemented a lot of other things inside of you as well, in your career. And we talked about it briefly before we actually got on the call, but how you got an award at Google for helping and contributing to helping other individuals with their career as a like somewhat like a mentor in a sense. Like, could you speak a little bit more about that?
Sure. So one of the things working at Google, which I thought was a great opportunity, I wanted other people that look like me, that speak like me, or even anybody to see that it's possible, it's doable. There's other people that look like you that are already at that level. So if you really want it, if you're really ready to work hard for it, it can happen. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been all around my community, to different high school, to different events, internally at Google and externally, just showing people, hey, software engineering is not just for the nerd. If you really have a passion for it, you can be one of the quote unquote nerds without really being a nerd.
Mm-hmm. So you did all of that on top of keeping your head in the books and keep learning, and on top of finding your way to a dance hall club every weekend, right? You
Yes.
were very overall. You had you did it really good. Any last words, Jean, for the listeners right now, just to kind of give them some more insight on something that you would recommend?
Yeah, my recommendation and my advice to anybody, especially young people, is find out what you're passionate about and find out what pays well and try to marry these two things. Because
Mm,
nobody's going to really ever give you anything in life for free. You have to go out there and take it.
that's deep. That's deep. I like how you're marrying it too, because you can have a passion, but it's not financially gonna hold you down.
Yeah, a lot of people have lots of passion that don't pay the bills.
Mm. And some people, obviously, on the other side of the spectrum, where they have a job that pays all the bills, but they just hate it because they're not passionate about it.
In this situation, I would advise get a great hobby. You work 9 to 5, you pay the bills, but on weekends you paint or whatever floats your boat.
Mm, mm. Okay. Well, Jean, I thank you so much for joining us today on the show and really just giving us a lot of insight on from your cultural background, growing up in Haiti, coming to the States sort of as a vacation, to going to school, getting your education, and it's kind of walking us through a lot of your journey. I greatly appreciate you, sharing a lot of that information about what you would do to advocate for yourself, a lot of those things that like are somewhat in a sense hidden gems that you wouldn't know unless someone told you. So thank you for sharing that on the show today.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I think you guys are doing a great job in the community, and we need more of that.
Mm, appreciate that. I know the listeners also appreciate that as well too. And I want the listeners to know if you want to hear more inspirational stories like Jean-Rodney, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com. Follow our social at Zaka Connect and follow our feed Zaka wherever you listen to your podcast.